Hey, it's Adrian Hernandez, Odyssey Sports and the Sporting Tribune. And look, here's the real thing that needs to be said about the NFL season, okay? It doesn't start with the Hall of Fame game. It doesn't start with overreactions to week one of the preseason, although Aiden O'Connell looked amazing for the Raiders. It starts when Madden comes out, and Madden NFL 24 is officially here. It is release day, it is out everywhere. And now we have a tradition on our hands because joining us is one of the people in charge of creating Madden every year, Clint Oldenburg, joining us, former NFL offensive lineman, now with EA Sports and Madden NFL as a producer and ratings adjuster and friend of the show. Clint, it is release week. Congratulations, and how you doing, my friend?
Yeah, doing awesome. It's a busy week. Madden's coming down the pipe this week. Madden NFL 24. Glad to be here. How you doing?
No, I'm doing good, and I have to be honest because I need to critique myself because I spend all day critiquing athletes. I did a terrible job in our last interview because again, we're here in Las Vegas. I just said you're a former NFL player, former offensive lineman. You were drafted by the Patriots. I'm not going to ask you about Bill Belichick, but there's someone on that coaching staff that Raiders fans are now very familiar with, and that would be Josh McDaniels, who's now the Raiders head coach heading into his second year. So before we get into your experience and how you got working on Madden and this year and all the new exciting changes, I have to ask you about Josh McDaniels and your experience with him as a player.
Coach McDaniel's smart guy, intense guy, really likes to win. I mean, hard to find someone that knows football like he does. He lives and eats the sport more than anyone I've ever met. I'm really hoping that he's able to get some winning seasons under his belt. I know he's gone through a few head coaching jobs. He's now with your Las Vegas Raiders. So I'm pulling for him to get some success here soon. He definitely deserves it.
No, I think Raiders fans are right there with you. And thank you for answering that. Now we can get to business of what we're really here for. And that's Madden NFL 24 out now. And I know that when you started, and I believe it was an intern working with college NCAA college football with EA, I know that a lot of former players weren't necessarily working for EA or any sports video game companies and helping make these games. So if you could briefly tell people about your transition from being a former player, now working on this game, and that journey where it's led to where you're at right now.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you nailed it. When I was getting done playing pro football, I needed to find a different career. Video games was always a big passion of mine. I didn't have any experience in it because I was real busy being an athlete. Loved gaming, loved Madden, loved college football. I applied for that internship back in 2012. Before that internship ended, I was offered a full-time position as a game designer on the Madden team, and I was officially, I guess if those things count, was officially the first full-time employee at Madden that had played in the NFL.
No, that's incredible. And like now that it's been a few years and you've been doing this for a long time, have you noticed a trend like in the sports gaming industry with some of the former players kind of looping themselves into giving feedback and helping make these games?
For us, definitely. I don't have a lot of visibility into what the other sports games are doing, but for Madden specifically, we now have another former NFL player. His name is Kenneth Boatwright. He played for Seattle. He is the second full-time employee now on our staff with NFL experience, and we've also attempted to create somewhat of a pipeline with retired NFL players and even college players. We'll bring them in as interns. We'll bring them in as contract workers or whatever opportunities present themselves. We do like to have that experience in house, and I think if you look around the gaming space, games like Call of Duty have been doing this for a while. They have ex-military consulting on building their
That's
game.
true.
So we're doing a lot of the same things.
And you talk about that pipeline and that communication with former players. I am kind of curious because I believe we talked about this last year. The thing that fascinated me that sometimes you'll go to some of these off-season symposiums and mention, hey, we're noticing a lot of players are using and being successful in these certain plays, and you show these offensive coordinators, you show these defensive coordinators, and instead of them giving you a rebuttal of like, oh no, well the player needs to do this, they bring out their clipboard and they're like, hold on a second, let me try this. So I think this is a fascinating part. Like, what is that? relationship with the league and the players and the coaches in terms of feedback year to year, and some of the trends that are happening on the field and bringing them into the game?
Number one for us, our number one priority, just like our tagline says, if it's in the game, it's in the game. We want to be as authentic as possible. So if there's a coach or a player or even a referee, we've talked to refs before, that has an idea or something that they think can make us more authentic, we're all ears. We want to hear about it. That's priority number one. What's really fun about that, though, is there's blending between real life and our game. We've gotten dozens of stories over the years of coaches using Madden as a training tool. It allows them to do mental reps when they're not on the field, and we've also heard from a number of players that their first exposure to American football was through an EA Sports Madden video game, and that's how they learned football. And that's now they made a career out of that in the NFL. And then the third thing, I mean, you see it all the time if you follow, competitive Madden social media, clock management. These guys playing online Madden think they're masters of clock management, and they've been, actively campaigning NFL coaches like, hey, get me on the staff. I can teach you how to be a better clock manager.
Clint, you're spoiling the last question of the interview. You're spoiling it, but no, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of where I was going. Was you see these things come up in the video games that start to become conversations in real life football, and that's not the only one, right? I mean, you go all the way back to the first down line in broadcast, the yellow line that shows you where you need to get a first down. Madden did that first. Broadcast took that from Madden. So there's a lot of fun opportunities that come up like that through the years.
That's incredible, and that's a fact too, by the way. And let's get into this year's game. And I have to ask you, because when we started the interview, you're talking. It's a busy week. It's release week. In my mind, as someone who has no idea about the video game industry and the real ins and outs of it, is release week now vacation mode, or no? The work has now begun because millions of players around the world are playing it.
There is no off season for us. We have a very short year to get Madden out the door on an annual sports release. That's just the nature of the beast. Launch week for us, number one, we want to celebrate launch, especially for the dev team. We want to make sure that they're feeling really good about what they've accomplished, because they put in a lot of hard work into that product, and we want to celebrate the dev team for getting a game out to market. Every time we release Madden, we're breaking a record. Madden NFL is the longest running annual release title in history. And we want to acknowledge that with our teams, number one, because we appreciate so much their hard work. Number two, the next step is once it's live and in players' hands, we're monitoring. So, for example, Tuesday night was our early access, or no, Monday night. See, they're all running together. Monday night was our early access release, starting at 8 p.m. Official time was 12 midnight. And all of the key stakeholders on the team were in a Zoom call until 2 a.m, monitoring the live product, seeing what players were seeing, understanding, how stable the game was in different modes. And really, that's our job as a live service for our players.
And I think that's one of the fascinating things that you've kind of had to work through. Now being a father and I guess being an adult, it breaks my heart, but I'm a former competitive player. I used to go to these Madden challenges. I try to keep up with MUT, and it's not even just MUT. There's so many options within the game that keep this game being something that people are playing for a year long. But that also means that you guys can't just primarily focus on the next year's title. So talk to me about that balance and throughout the year, like how the schedule shifts of really when, the focus starts to shift for the next game, and maintaining what's out, and like how does that whole process work?
You got to be able to multitask, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of crossover, right? So let's talk about just the last 3-week period. Our Ultimate Team folks, they put out the last content update on Madden 23. We were a week out from launching Madden 24, which is happening this week. And we also were going through our ideation process for Madden 25. So we're working on 3 games all within a 3-week period. And basically how that works over time is we're going to scale. So right now, Madden 24 is just coming out. We're live. We're going to support that as strongly as we can, new content as much as we can. If any issues pop up that we need to get fixed, we're going to do that as quickly as possible. And then over time, it'll start to degrade as we focus more and more people on the next title, and they'll start to roll off in waves throughout the year.
No, it truly is fascinating, and I maybe should have just asked this first, but we'll ask it here. With this new game, obviously some new features are involved. For you personally, what are the things you're looking forward to for not only you getting to experience online with others, but for people that are going to be buying this game for them to finally get their hands on it?
I think we've made a significant jump in player control in the gameplay space. That's on the back of our Field Sense feature set. We did a lot of work with tackling. You're going to see new contextually appropriate tackles, catch tackles, scoop tackles. We have a new dynamic size matchup relative to the size and speed of the players in the tackles. So you're going to see different results based on that. Near and dear to my heart, blocking. We took our animation branching technology from Field Sense that we did in Madden 23 with tackling. We extended that over to the blocking side. So our blockers are now more dynamic. They can enter and exit multi-man interaction. So think of two players in a block and a third player coming in and adding on to that block dynamically and then leaving the block to go block another player. Really opens up the run game. The movements of the players, we added momentum catches. So when you lead a receiver, say on a crossing route, you want to do a wrap catch, a run after catch, he won't lose any speed when he matches that catch, and he'll be able to gain yards after. So that's on the gameplay, and there's even a lot more there than I'm getting into. Superstar, really excited about Superstar mode. Superstar is back. We've had Face of the Franchise, which had a nice run for the last couple of years in Madden, but Superstar is back, headlined with a new playable NFL Combine as you start out your journey as an NFL rookie.
The game is downloading right now as we speak. So we still got plenty to talk about, but I can't wait to finally get my hands on it. One thing I do want to ask you, and it's funny because I am a sports radio host, which basically I kind of perpetuate and I deal with criticism of players and teams. And it's no surprise that sports fans that are passionate about their teams are also passionate about Madden. And now it's easier than ever to get your voice out, whether you're on Twitch, whether you're on social media, on your mic online. Just dealing with the feedback and how accessible it is, positive or negative. Through that's another thing that's changed throughout the years. How do you guys deal with that?
We try to go in with, I don't know the right way to word it, like a positive mindset. Every piece of feedback is valid for the most part, right? Even if someone is going to hit up my Twitter account and they just want to cuss me out, there's a reason that they want to do that, and we need to try to figure out what that reason is. Now, there's always going to be bad actors and whatever, and you got to filter those
Mm-hmm.
out. That's more rare. That's more the exception. If there's a problem that a player is having, something they don't understand, they're feeling some friction, we want to figure out what that is, filter through the subjective feedback and get to the objective feedback. And we try to get as much of it as we can. We're always looking for this. And that's really what informs our decisions about what we need to work on.
And before we get into two silly questions, I do want to ask about the cover athlete process and how it gets decided and when it gets decided, and what the conversations are like. Do the meetings on Zoom or inside Orlando at the studios? Does it become the first take set with a certain person vouching for another player and the other being like, "Hell no, he hasn't won the Super Bowl." Blah 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 blah. Like, how does that process work out?
It's actually not as hard or complicated as you might think. So usually we're looking for a great ambassador, a guy who likes video games, a guy who doesn't have a problem, getting friendly with fans, personable, great person in the community. And for us this year, I mean that you just go down that criteria. Josh Allen is a perfect fit, right? Like when Josh Allen was mentioned as a potential, I don't think anyone had any pushback on that at all. He's a great player. He's only getting better for the Buffalo Bills. He's really exciting to watch. He encompasses not only what our game is about in Madden 24, which is about dynamic gameplay, but he's also a great human being. He's been a fantastic ambassador for Madden.
Has anyone ever said no? And I don't need names, but has anyone ever said nah?
So since I've been there, I don't think so. But one of my friends, former NFL player Amon Green, big gamer, he has stated on a number of occasions that he was actually offered the Madden cover during his career and he turned it down. I don't know if that's true or
Wait
not.
a minute. Wait a minute. And he loves Madden and he
He loves
loves it.
Madden.
He commentates a lot of competitive tournaments. We'll get him on the show to confirm this. That might be a fib. But that's what he says. We'll hold him to it.
That's what he
All right.
said.
All right, let's go. Let's do two quick ones to get you out of here. And again, Madden NFL 24 available wherever. You don't need to hear it from me. Madden is out, people. Let's play FB Heavyweight on Xbox. Add me. We can get a game in. Clint, in your opinion, who is the greatest Madden player of all time? And I mean, as an NFL player within the game, not a competitive player. So is it Michael Vick? Is it Lamar Jackson? Randy Moss in the Patriots era? Who are you going with?
Man, that's a tough question to answer because I want to give you two answers because one is the obvious that if I didn't say, everyone would argue. You already said it. Michael Vick, right? Michael Vick is the most overpowering video game player of all time, except maybe Tecmo Bo Jackson. Maybe that's arguable. Michael Vick.
He was playing against plumbers. That doesn't count. Anyway.
Michael Vick changed our game, right? So just like the way he changed the NFL, he was so dynamic. He was so fast. He had arm strength. We put him in the game just like he was in real life, and nobody figured out how to stop him. And so we had to figure out. I mean, QB contain mechanic came from Michael Vick. QB spy came from Michael Vick. It's really hard to contain a guy like that, and players in Madden that era felt that.
Let me ask you. I'm a Browns fan. That's why I got the Guardians hat on, right? And we've had a guy on our team, Anthony Schwartz, who is one of the fastest guys in the league. He hasn't had much success in the NFL because sometimes he doesn't catch the ball. But he's kind of been my X factor on the Browns, which is why I'm hoping he doesn't get cut this year. And I remember Brian Finneran with the Falcons, speaking of Michael Vick, because he was so tall. So people were using him. How do you guys how do I even ask this? Like, what are the conversations on trying to, I guess it would be called nerfing, right? Like, that's what they say for shooters and stuff. Like, nerfing some of these things to make sure, because people are always trying to find any type of thing to win. Like, do you guys have those discussions where you notice that where it's a lower ranking player, but some of their attributes are ridiculously high, like speed and things like that, and kind of counteract that?
Yeah, we talk about stuff like that all the time. We call it game balancing. You always want to have a balanced game. Like I said before, we want it to be authentic. But at the end of the day, it is a video game and it still needs to be fun. So while we want to challenge ourselves and say, for example, how do we make it so speed isn't the most important rating at all times? There's a lot of great ideas about how to do that, but I don't think that's an easy thing to do, right? Because it's just so applicable to a video game world. Things we can do or things we really want to do, for example, wide receivers, how do we make route running matter? That's how the conversation starts. Is there a way to make a guy a worse route runner? And then how do we tell a player, okay, you have a fast player but run routes well. Let's say he runs the wrong route, or you expect a 12-yard out route and he runs an 8-yard out route. How do we tell you, hey, he messed that up without you saying, hey, you cheated me? Those are some of the harder things to do. Balancing.
That's where the tweets come.
But those are the things that we're always talking about all the time.
Yeah, and by the way, this is a tip for everyone listening. Browns have 3 wide receivers with over 93 speed. If you are not a MUT player, take that information and do what you want. And we'll close out with this. I started this by asking you about Josh McDaniels. Obviously, he's the Raiders head coach. We got Brian Hoyer. We got Jimmy G on the Raiders. So my question to close this out, do you think Tom Brady's going to become the Raiders quarterback at any point in his life?
If there's anyone out there who knows what Tom Brady's going to do, that's only Tom Brady. I mean, I'd love to see him play more. I mean, I got to play that one season with him in New England. He's a great player. A shame that we can't watch him play anymore. But if he wants to come out of retirement for his old coach, Josh McDaniels, I'll be right there to watch.
There it is, the headline. Clint says it's going to happen. NFL Madden Insider. No, I'm just kidding. Clint, this has been a pleasure the past 2 years. Why don't we make this happen next year, and then we'll talk about that cool ratings adjuster jacket. We'll get a big and tall jacket for me, but we'll talk about that later. Clint, congratulations on the title, and thank you so much for the time.
Yeah, thank you. And just a reminder, worldwide launch Friday, August 18th.